Hello everyone and welcome to episode 5 of my Dwarf Paladin Hardcore Let's Play series, where I have been going through some of the old lore books in World of Warcraft in this series and just reading through all the books that you can find throughout the world, and I want to go ahead and jump straight into that at the start of this episode with Chapter 5, Return of the Burning Legion, where link down in the description if you want to read along. The Scourge of Lordaeron, from 20 years after the opening of the Dark Portal, found in Stranglethorn Vale, Westfall, Skullomance, Scarlet Monastery, Ashen Vale, and Stratholme. After preparing for many long months, Kel'Thuzad and his Code of the Damned finally struck the first blow by releasing the Plague of Undeath upon Lordaeron. Uther and his fellow paladins investigated the infected regions in the hope of finding a way to stop the plague. Despite their efforts, the plague continued to spread and threatened to tear the Alliance apart. As the ranks of the undead swept across Lordaeron, Taranis' only son, Prince Arthas, took up the fight against the Scourge. Arthas succeeded in killing Kel'Thuzad, but even so, the undead ranks swelled with every soldier that fell defending the land. Frustrated and stymied by the seemingly unstoppable enemy, Arthas took increasingly extreme steps to conquer them. Finally, Arthas' comrades warned him that he was losing his hold on his humanity. Arthas' fear and resolve proved to be his ultimate undoing. He tracked the plague's source to Northrend, intending to end its threat forever. Instead, Prince Arthas eventually fell prey to the Lich King's tremendous power. Believing that it would save his people, Arthas took up the cursed runeblade, Frostmourne. Though the sword did grant him unfathomable power, it also stole his soul and transformed him into the greatest of the Lich King's Death Knights. With his soul cast aside and his sanity shattered, Arthas led the Scourge against his own kingdom. Ultimately, Arthas murdered his own father, King Taranis, and crushed Lordaeron under the Lich King's iron heel. Sunwell, the Fall of Quel'Thalas, from 20 years after the opening of the Dark Portal, a lore book found in the Stranglethorn Vale and Ashen Vale. Though he defeated all the people he now saw as his enemies, Arthas was still haunted by the ghost of Kel'Thuzad. The ghost told Arthas that he needed to be revived for the next phase of the Lich King's plan. To revive him, Arthas needed to bring Kel'Thuzad's remains to the mystical Sunwell, hidden within the High Elves' eternal kingdom of Quel'Thalas. Arthas and his Scourge invaded Quel'Thalas and laid siege to the elves' crumbling defenses. Sylvanas Windrunner, the Ranger General of Silvermoon, put up a valiant fight, but Arthas eventually eradicated the High Elf army and battled through to the Sunwell. In a cruel gesture of his dominance, he even raised Sylvanas' defeated body as a banshee, cursed to end this undeath in the service of Quel'Thalas' conqueror. Ultimately, Arthas submerged Kel'Thuzad's remains within the holy waters of the Sunwell. Although the potent waters of eternity were fouled by this act, Kel'Thuzad was reborn as a sorcerer's lich. Resurrected as a far more powerful being, Kel'Thuzad explained the next phase of the Lich King's plan. By the time Arthas and his army of the dead turned southward, not one living elf remained in Quel'Thalas, the glorious homeland of the High Elves, which had stood for more than 9,000 years, was no more. Archimonde's return and the fight to Kalimdor, from 20 years after the opening of the Dark Portal. A lore book found in Stormwind City, the Barrens, Desolace, and Scarlet Monastery. Once Kel'Thuzad was whole again, Arthas led the Scourge south to Dalaran. There the Lich would obtain the powerful spellbook of Medivh and use it to summon Archimonde back into the world. From that point on, Archimonde himself would begin the Legion's final invasion. Not even the wizards of the Kirin Tor could stop Arthas' forces from stealing Medivh's book, and soon Kel'Thuzad had all he needed to perform his spell. After 10,000 years, the mighty demon Archimonde and his host emerged once again upon the world of Azeroth. Yet Dalaran was not their final destination. Under orders from Kil'jaeden himself, Archimonde and his demons followed the undead Scourge to Kalimdor, bent on destroying Nordrassil, the World Tree. In the midst of this chaos, a lone, mysterious prophet appeared to lend the mortal race's guidance. This prophet proved to be none other than Medivh, the last guardian. Miraculously, returned from the beyond to redeem himself for past sins. Medivh told the Horde and the Alliance of the dangers they faced and urged them to band together. Jaded by generations of hate, the orcs and humans would have none of it. Medivh was forced to deal with each race separately, using prophecy and trickery to guide them across the sea to the legendary land of Kalimdor. The orcs and humans soon encountered the long-hidden civilization of the Kaldorei. The orcs, led by Thrall, suffered a series of setbacks on their journey across Kalimdor's barrens. Though they befriended Cairn Bloodhoof and his mighty Tauren warriors, many orcs began to succumb to the demonic bloodlust that had plagued them for years. Thrall's greatest lieutenant, Grom Hellscream, even betrayed the Horde by giving himself over to his baser instincts. As Hellscream and his loyal Warsong warriors stalked through the forests of Ashenvale, they clashed with the ancient Night Elf sentinels. Certain that the orcs had returned to their warlike ways, the demigod Cenarius came forth to drive Hellscream and his orcs back. Yet, Hellscream and his orcs, overcome with supernatural hate and rage, managed to kill Cenarius and corrupt the ancient forest lands. Ultimately, Hellscream redeemed his honor by helping Thrall defeat Manroth, the demon lord who first cursed the orcs with his bloodline of hate and rage. With Manroth's death, the orcs' blood curse was finally brought to an end. While Medivh worked to convince the orcs and humans of the need for an alliance, the Night Elves fought the Legion in their own secretive ways. Tyrande Whisperwind, the immortal high priestess of the Night Elf Sentinels, battled desperately to keep the demons and undead from overrunning the forests of Ashenvale. Tyrande realized that she needed help, so she set out to awaken the Night Elf Druids from their 1,000-year slumber. Calling upon her ancient love, Malfurion Stormrage, Tyrande succeeded in galvanizing her defenses and driving the Legion back. With Malfurion's help, nature herself rose up to vanquish the Legion and its scourge allies. While searching for more of the hibernating druids, Malfurion found the ancient barrel prison in which she had chained his brother, Illidan. Convinced that Illidan would aid them against the Legion, Tyrande set him free. Though Illidan did aid them for a time, he eventually fled to pursue his own interests. The Night Elves braced themselves and fought the Burning Legion with grim determination. The Legion had never ceased in its desire for the Well of Eternity, long the source of strength for the World Tree, and itself the heart of the Night Elf Kingdom. If their planned assault on the tree was successful, the demons would literally tear the world apart. The Battle of Mount Hyjal, from 20 years after the opening of the Dark Portal, from History of Warcraft. Under Medivh's guidance, Thrall and Jaina Proudmoore, the leader of the human forces in Kalimdor, realized that they had to put aside their differences. Similarly, the Night Elves, led by Malfurion and Tyrande, agreed that they must unite if they hoped to defend the World Tree. Unified in purpose, the races of Azeroth worked together to fortify the World Tree's energies to their utmost. Empowered by the very strength of the world, Malfurion succeeded in unleashing Nordrassil's primal fury, utterly destroying Archimonde and severing the Legion's anchor to the Well of Eternity. The final battle shook the continent of Kalimdor to its roots. Unable to draw power from the well itself, the Burning Legion crumbled under the combined might of the mortal armies. The Betrayer Ascendant, from 21 years after the opening of the Dark Portal. A lore book found in Darnassus. During the Legion's invasion of Ashenvale, Illidan was released from his barrel prison after 10,000 years of captivity. Though he sought to appease his comrades, he soon reverted to true form and consumed the energies of a powerful warlock artifact known as the School of Godan. By doing so, Illidan developed demonic features and vastly magnified power. He also gained some of Godan's old memories, especially those of the tomb of Sargeras, the island dungeon rumored to hold the remains of the Dark Titan, Sargeras. Bristling with power and free to roam the world once more, Illidan set out to find his own place in the great scheme of things. However, Kil'jaeden confronted Illidan and made him an offer he could not refuse. Kil'jaeden was angered by Archimonde's defeat at Mount Hyjal, but he had greater concerns than vengeance. Sensing that his creation, the Lich King, was growing too powerful to control, Kil'jaeden ordered Illidan to destroy Ner'zhul and put an end to the undead scourge once and for all. In exchange, Illidan would receive untold power and a true place amongst the remaining lords of the Burning Legion. Illidan agreed and immediately set out to destroy the Frozen Throne, the icy crystal cask in which the Lich King's spirit resided. Illidan knew that he would need a mighty artifact to destroy the Frozen Throne. Using the knowledge he had gained from Godan's memories, Illidan decided to seek out the tomb of Sargeras and claim the Dark Titan's remains. He called in some old highborn debts and lured the serpentine Naga from their dark undersea layers. Led by the cunning witch Lady Vaj, the Naga helped Illidan reach the Broken Isles, where Sargeras' tomb was rumored to be located. As Illidan set out with the Naga, Warden Maiev Shadowsong began to hunt him. Maiev had been Illidan's jailer for 10,000 years and relished the prospect of recapturing him. However, Illidan outsmarted Maiev and her watchers, and succeeded in claiming the Eye of Sargeras despite their efforts. With the powerful eye in his possession, Illidan traveled to the former wizard city of Delaran. Strengthened by the city's ley power lines, Illidan used the eye to cast a destructive spell against the Lich King's citadel of Icecrown in distant Northrend. Illidan's attack shattered the Lich King's defenses and ruptured the very roof of the world. At the final moment, Illidan's destructive spell was stopped when his brother Malfurion and the priestess Tyrande arrived to aid Maiev. Knowing that Kil'jaeden would not be pleased with his failure to destroy the Frozen Throne, Illidan fled to the barren dimension known as Outland, the last remnants of Draenor, the Orc's former homeworld. There, he planned to evade Kil'jaeden's wrath and plan his next moves. After they succeeded in stopping Illidan, Malfurion and Tyrande returned home to Ashenvale Forest to watch over their people. Maiev, however, would not quit so easily and followed Illidan to Outland, determined to bring him to justice. Rise of the Blood Elves. From about 21 to 24 years after the opening of the Dark Portal, a lore book found in Elwyn Forest, Arathi Highlands, Scholomance, and Darnassus. At this time, the Undead Scourge had essentially transformed Lordaeron and Quel'Thalas into the toxic Plaguelands. There were only a few pockets of Alliance resistance forces left. One such group, consisting primarily of High Elves, was led by the last of the Sunstrider dynasty, Prince Kael'thas. Kael, an accomplished wizard himself, grew wary of the failing alliance. The High Elves grieved for the loss of their homeland and decided to call themselves Blood Elves in honor of their fallen people. Yet, as they worked to keep the Scourge at bay, they suffered greatly at being cut off from the Sunwell that had empowered them. Desperate to find a cure for his people's racial addiction to magic, Kael did the unthinkable. He embraced his people's highborn ancestry and joined with Illidan and his Naga in hopes of finding a new magical power source upon which to feed. The remaining Alliance commanders condemned the Blood Elves as traitors and cast them out for good. With no place left to go, Kael and his Blood Elves followed Lady Vashj to Outland to help contest the Warden, Maiev, who had recaptured Illidan. With the combined Naga and Blood Elf forces, they managed to defeat Maiev and free Illidan from her grasp. Based in Outland, Illidan gathered his forces for a second strike against the Lich King and his fortress of Icecrown. Civil War in the Plaguelands. From about 21 to 24 years after the opening of the Dark Portal. A lore book found in Elwyn Forest, Stormwind City, Ironforge, Hellsbrad Foothills, Scarlet Monastery, Undercity, and Stratholme. Ner'zhul, the Lich King, knew that his time was short. Imprisoned within the Frozen Throne, he suspected that Kil'jaeden would send his agents to destroy him. The damage caused by Illidan's spell had ruptured the Frozen Throne, thus the Lich King was losing his power daily. Desperate to save himself, he called his greatest mortal servant to his side, the Death Knight, Prince Arthas. Though his powers were drained by the Lich King's weakness, Arthas had been involved in a civil war in Lordaeron. Half of the standing undead forces, led by the Banshee Sylvanas Windrunner, staged a coup for control over the undead empire. Arthas, called by the Lich King, was forced to leave the Scourge in the hands of his lieutenant, Kel'Thuzad, as the war escalated throughout the Plaguelands. Ultimately, Sylvanas and her rebel undead, known as the Forsaken, claimed the ruined capital city of Lordaeron as their own. Constructing their own bastion beneath the wrecked city, the Forsaken vowed to defeat the Scourge and drive Kel'Thuzad and his minions from the land. Weakened, but determined to save his master, Arthas reached Northrend only to find Illidan's Naga and Blood Elves waiting for him. He and his Nerubian allies raced against Illidan's forces to reach the Icecrown Glacier and defend the Frozen Throne. The Lich King triumphant, from about 21 to 24 years after the opening of the Dark Portal. A lore book found in Scholomance and Stratholme. Even weakened as he was, Arthas ultimately outmaneuvered Illidan and reached the Frozen Throne first. Using his runeblade Frostmourne, Arthas shattered the Lich King's icy prison and thereby released Ner'zhul's enchanted helm and breastplate. Arthas placed the unimaginably powerful helm on his head and became the new Lich King. Ner'zhul and Arthas' spirits fused into a single mighty being, just as Ner'zhul had always planned. Illidan and his troops were forced to flee back to Outland in disgrace, while Arthas became one of the most powerful entities the world had ever known. Currently, Arthas, the new and immortal Lich King, resides in Northrend. He is rumored to be rebuilding the Citadel of Icecrown. His trusted lieutenant Kel'Thuzad commands the Scourge in the Plaguelands. Sylvanas and her rebel Forsaken hold only the Terrasfall Glades, a small portion of the war-torn kingdom. Old hatreds, the colonization of Kalimdor, from about 21 to 24 years after the opening of the Dark Portal, found in Teneris and Scholomance. Though victory was theirs, the mortal races found themselves in a world shattered by war. The Scourge and the Burning Legion had all but destroyed the civilizations of Lordaeron and had almost finished the job in Kalimdor. They were forests to heal, grudges to bury, and homelands to settle. The war had wounded each race deeply, but they had selflessly banded together to attempt a new beginning, starting with the uneasy truce between the Alliance and Horde. Thrall led the orcs to the continent of Kalimdor, where they founded a new homeland with the help of their Tauren brethren. Naming their new land Durotar after Thrall's murdered father, the orcs settled down to rebuild their once glorious society. Now that the demon curse was ended, the Horde changed from a warlike juggernaut into more of a loose coalition, dedicated to survival and prosperity rather than conquest. Aided by the noble Tauren and the cunning trolls of the Darkspear tribe, Thrall and his orcs looked forward to a new era of peace in their own land. The remaining Alliance forces under Jaina Proudmoore settled in southern Kalimdor. Off the eastern coast of Dustwallow Marsh, they built the rugged port city of Theramore. There, the humans and their dwarven allies worked to survive in a land that would always be hostile to them. Though the defenders of Durotar and Theramore kept the tentative truce with one another, the fragile colonial serenity was not meant to last. The peace between the orcs and humans was shattered by the arrival of a massive Alliance fleet in Kalimdor. The mighty fleet, under the command of Grand Admiral Dalen Proudmoore, Jaina's father, had left Lordaeron before Arthas had destroyed the kingdom. Having sailed for many grueling months, Admiral Proudmoore was searching for any Alliance survivors he could find. Proudmoore's armada posed a serious threat to the stability of the region. As a renowned hero of the Second War, Jaina's father was a staunch enemy of the Horde, and he was determined to destroy Durotar before the orcs could gain a foothold in the land. The Grand Admiral forced Jaina to make a terrible decision: support him in battle against the orcs and betray her newfound allies, or fight her own father to maintain the fragile peace that the Alliance and Horde had finally attained. After much soul-searching, Jaina chose the latter and helped Thrall defeat her crazed father. Unfortunately, Admiral Proudmoore died in battle before Jaina could reconcile with him or prove that orcs were no longer bloodthirsty monsters. For her loyalty, the orcs allowed Jaina's forces to return home safely to Theramore. And with that, across the last 4 episodes, we have now read every single lore book available to read in World of Warcraft Classic, where that was a lot of reading over these last 4 episodes, and we have finally completed all of that. But this document that I am reading from does have some additional stuff that I want to continue reading for a little bit in this episode, and then I will likely continue reading in my Orc Shaman Let's Play series, just a little bit here and there. But let's go ahead and start Chapter 6, The New Age, where basically the first part of this chapter is going through all of the releases of World of Warcraft Vanilla and giving a quick description. So, World of Warcraft. 4 years have passed since the mortal races banded together and stood united against the might of the Burning Legion. Though Azeroth was saved, the tenuous pact between the Horde and the Alliance has all but evaporated. The drums of war thunder once again. Patch 1.2, Mysteries of Muradin. Intrepid adventurers first discovered the depths of Muradin, a dungeon that revealed much of the mystery behind the marauding Centaur clans. Denizens of Azeroth also celebrated the Feast of Wintervale, trading gifts and munching on cookies and eggnog, and chatting with Greatfather Winter kept both Alliance and Horde in high spirits throughout the holidays. Patch 1.3, Ruins of the Dire Maw. Built long ago by Queen Azshara's followers, the ancient, magical city of Eldr Thalas was the center for the Highborn's arcane research. Thousands of years have passed since the destruction of the Well of Eternity, and the broken city's 3 wings have been overrun by ghostly Highborn, Satyr, and Ogres. Now known as the Dire Maw, only the most daring party of adventurers can enter this dungeon and face the ancient evils within. Patch 1.4, The Call to War. There was no help for it. The seasoned troops on both the Horde and Alliance were becoming beleaguered. The fierce light of battle was fading from their eyes. Leaders feared retaliation by their enemy, assured that they would strike any day. Something had to be done to rekindle that fire, to return vigor to their valiant soldiers. The cities of Azeroth now grant ranks to their fighters, and the craftsmen of both sides have been working feverishly to provide their armies with new items for use in the war effort. Fight on, brave and noble adventurers, and achieve glory. Patch 1.5, Battlegrounds. The troops again lusting for power, all eyes now turn to 2 prime spots in Azeroth. In the formerly pristine Otrak Valley, the Stormpike Dwarves and the Frostwell clans of orcs fight over the rights of the strategic piece of land. Huge armies clash upon the slopes of the Snowy Vale. Over in Kalimdor, the Silvermane Sentinels of Ashenvale and the Warsong Orcs battle for the forest. The Night Elves to save their ancestral land, the Orcs to chop it down for valuable war supplies. Both battles require the most stalwart of soldiers. It is time to fight for Lord and land. Patch 1.6 Assault on Blackwing Lair. Lord Victor Nefarious has long taunted the defenders of the land during their adventures in Blackrock Spire. Now, at last, his lair lies open, awaiting those daring enough to set foot within, do battle against the Black Dragonflight, and face off against Nefarian himself within the treacherous Blackwing Lair. For those less inclined to do battle with dragons, the mysterious, mischievous Darkmoon Fair has been sighted around the areas of Elven Forest and the plains of Mulgore. Indulge in less than healthy fair food, enjoy the strange and wonderful games, get your fortune told by a gnoll, and imbibe cheap booze. Who could ask for more? Patch 1.7 Rise of the Blood God. Venture into Zul'Grub, ancient cities of the Gurubashi Trolls, and do battle against the minions of the Blood God Hakar. Aid of the Zandalari tribe in restoring the proper order to the world, for they will reward your efforts with both knowledge and armor to help you in your quest. In the Arathi Highlands, a resource-rich vale lies nestled within the mountains. There, the League of Aerthor fights against the undead defilers to gather these vital supplies for their armies. Join the battle in the name of the Horde or Alliance, and take control over the basin. Patch 1.8 Dragons of Nightmare. The great trees of the world have been shaken to their roots. A new menace has come from the portals to the Emerald Dream. 4 green dragons, once proud lieutenants of Ysera, now corrupted by the Emerald Nightmare, have appeared in Azeroth to destroy the life they once dearly protected. Adventurers must ride forth and defend the land from this new threat. Meanwhile, in Selithis, the Cenarian Circle gathers at its hold to research the strange going-ons both above and underneath the shifting sands. Something dangerous is stirring beyond the Scarab Wall. The Twilight's Hammer are extremely active in the area, working to uncover some unnamed evil. Can you uncover the mysteries therein? Patch 1.9 The Gates of Ancrage. The Gates of Ancrage will house 2 massive unique dungeons, the Ruins of Ancrage, a 20-man raid dungeon, and the Temple of Ancrage, a 40-man raid dungeon. As players delve deeper into the mysteries of Ancrage, they will discover revelations of the Silithid infestation and their shadowy masters, the Kraji. Players will have to complete a world event of massive proportions before they can open the Gates of Ancrage on their realm. Patch 1.10 Storms of Azeroth. Weather has at last arrived across the continents of the land. Priest abilities have been further tuned, and many high-level raid instances have undergone significant changes with adjustments to difficulty, rewards, and the number of players allowed to venture together into the depths of the darkest, most dangerous places of Azeroth. Prepare yourselves for the coming storm. Patch 1.11 Shadow of the Necropolis. Floating above the Plaguelands, the necropolis known as Naxxramas serves as a seat of one of the Lich King's most powerful officers, the dreaded Lich Kel'Thuzad. Horrors of the past and new terrors yet to be unleashed are gathering inside the necropolis as the Lich King's servants prepare their assault. The Scourge marches again. Naxxramas is the new 40-man raid dungeon that will present even more experienced and powerful players with an epic challenge. And finally, patch 1.12, the final patch of vanilla World of Warcraft before the Burning Crusade, Drums of War. For the first time in the history of World of Warcraft, you can take on players from other realms in the battlegrounds, replenish your mana, sharpen your blades, and get ready for some brand new challengers. Also, this patch introduced world PvP objectives to Selithis and the Eastern Plaguelands. The stage is set for intense, objective-based land battles as Horde and Alliance vie for control over important strategic positions and resources around Azeroth. The next section of this document is in-game character select and intro cinematic, where basically it's just all the text from the variety of different character selection information and all the different intro cinematics for each of the races, where I have gone through all of these in episode 1 of each of my World of Warcraft Let's Play series, including the Gnomes and Trolls in episode 1 and 2 of this series down in the description as a part of hidden videos, where I'm not going to go ahead and go through this since I've already gone through all of it already throughout my different Let's Play series. Where I now want to go over the military ranks of the Alliance and the Horde, as the final thing that I read from this document as a part of this Let's Play series, where there are 9 other documents, and I'll probably read like 1 or 2 of them, and potentially more in my Orc Shaman Let's Play series. And basically, if you want to read everything else, you can go ahead and check out the link in the description. But a treatise on military ranks, Stormwind City, Champions Hall. What follows are the military ranks of the Alliance, preceded by such information as is known for the races of the Horde. Each is presented in 2 sections, the officers and then the enlisted, with the ranks of each listed in descending order from highest to lowest. Long live the Alliance. Officer ranks of the Alliance: Grand Marshal, Field Marshal, Marshal, Commander, Lieutenant Commander, Knight Champion, Knight Captain, Knight Lieutenant, Knight. Enlisted ranks of the Alliance: Sergeant Major, Master Sergeant, Sergeant, Corporal, Private. Military ranks of the Horde and Alliance: Thramka. In this book you will find many listings of the military ranks of the Horde and the Puny Alliance. First will come the Horde, then the Alliance, each with listings of officers and enlisted ranks. As is fitting, the strongest are listed at the top and the weaker listed below them. Officer ranks of the Horde: High Warlord, Warlord, General, Lieutenant General, Champion, Centurion, Legionnaire, Bloodguard, Stone Guard. Enlisted ranks of the Horde: First Sergeant, Senior Sergeant, Sergeant, Grunt, Scout. Where I wanted to take a moment in the middle of this video to come back to my Night Elf Druid character, which is a character that I've highlighted in the previous 3 hardcore Let's Play series that I have done, and I thought it would make sense to do it a 4th time here in this Let's Play series, where I've kind of been showing the evolution of this character across my different hardcore Let's Play series, and we are almost level 85, and I will hit that in a future stream, and I've been playing this character a lot in different streams. But anyways, I want to take a moment to highlight kind of like this area of the world of Khaz Modan and a couple of specific places and how it has changed, where I'm not going to highlight every single thing about this area, and I probably wouldn't even go to like the weapons or whatever, but I just wanted to point out a few different things. Where we see in here, we have a special Dwarven Council of Muradin Bronzebeard, the Bronzebeard representative, Moria Thorison, the Dark Iron representative, and Falstad Wildhammer, the Wildhammer clan representative. And we can see that they are here, and they are basically representing the 3 different dwarven clans that are trying to come together again. But we also have this area over here that unlocks in the Cataclysm version of the game, but it's actually available in the earlier versions of Ironforge, and you can break into this area in vanilla World of Warcraft, and we could do it in hardcore if you wanted, but I don't really want to do that because it's kind of scary, and also I don't really do too many map breaks anymore. But this is an area that goes down and down and down deeper into Ironforge Mountain, and I think kind of like where the Dark Irons used to live, but this is old Ironforge that we see right here, and it is a beautiful like chasm where we can see like some lava down there in the heart of Ironforge, and some like different buildings with a bunch of Ironforge guards. But there's a really cool spot up here that we can go ahead and make our way to, where we are going to see, and at least I think we're going to see in the Cataclysm version of the game, Muradin Bronzebeard right here, where we have Honor Guard at Dunstad and Advisor Pilgrim right here, where we could chat with him. And of course Muradin here turned into Crystal or whatever, and he plays an important part in the future of World of Warcraft, including in the upcoming War Within expansion, which is kind of interesting. And that's really the main things that I wanted to take a look at. But let's go ahead and leave Ironforge really quickly and just get kind of an overhead view of Dune Morrow, and I want to go into Loch Modan, and I want to go ahead and go into a new zone that was introduced in the Cataclysm expansion, where we are now outside of Ironforge, and we can see Dune Morrow down there, where of course in the Cataclysm version of the game I can fly around this area of the world. And I guess I will point out some of the cool spots on the way to this brand new zone, where we have a really cool campfire up here with a bunch of tents and supplies and whatnot. But over here is a really cool part of the game, and it is the Ironforge Airport. And it's just a really cool location that you can get up to somehow in the older versions of World of Warcraft, but basically a lot of people used to get up here by kind of like doing a bunch of wall jumping, which I don't think you can do anymore. but there are just a ton of cool things going on here, where in the original version of World of Warcraft, it used to be like the winter trolls that were up here, but now we see a ton of dark irons, where we have General Grimax right there. And this is just a really fun area where we have the Dark Irons fighting the Ironforged Dwarves, because of course we have Mora Thorson, who wants to bring the Dark Irons into the kind of alliance of dwarves and also the alliance as a whole. But of course there are like groups of the Dark Irons who do not want the same thing and are kind of against that treaty and that proposition, where there are also the Wildhammer Dwarves that we can go ahead and check out. But over there we have the wetlands, which we can kind of see a little bit of down the slopes there, not really at all. But we can also go ahead and fly over to Khaz Modan, because I mentioned, I think at some point in this Let's Play series, I mentioned how the dam in Khaz Modan gets destroyed and the entire loch floods out into the wetlands, and we can go ahead and get a little bit of a sneak peek once we fly a little bit closer. But we can see here the dam is destroyed, and we can see here Khaz Modan is mostly flooded out into the wetlands. And I feel like this is kind of a cool storyline, but also on the other end, I really enjoy how this map is in the vanilla version of the game. So just like comparing it 1-to-1, I just don't really enjoy this too much personally, but I think like by itself, it is a really cool idea. Where I want to go ahead and fly this way, where we see this massive spire right here, which is an important part of the Cataclysm expansion, because we have this zone right over here, the Twilight Highlands, where basically this area of the world was kind of retconned to actually go further out than it used to be, where it used to be a tiny sliver. And we have the wetlands here, where this area right here that I kind of mentioned is not really a spot you come to, is now part of the Twilight Highlands. And we have the Grim Bateau dungeon, which is one of the original Wildhammer strongholds. But as we fly over to this area, let's go ahead and check out the Farstrider Lodge, because there might be something a little interesting there we can get a sneak peek at, where there's like a proper road and everything that's leading to this lodge, so you don't have to like run through like the forest here and fighting a bunch of vultures along the way. But now there's like golden eagles and some bobcats, which is really interesting. Kind of just some different creatures here as the Cataclysm has changed the world. But we can see that there's like a little bit of different things going on here, where we have this like safety warden right here, which is kind of interesting, and we have this Griffin Master. But here we have Viren Swiftwind, which if you remember when we were here earlier, I talked about how her model was updated in the Burning Crusade expansion, and we can see this updated model right here, where it's the same character, just a different model, as they made a better High Elf model, which shares the same model as the Blood Elves basically, instead of having the High Elves share a model with the Night Elves. And I think that's just a really fun part of the evolution of World of Warcraft. But let's go ahead and do one last thing, and that's to fly into this zone, which I have not yet explored this zone, and kind of like what I was talking about earlier, I am planning on playing through this zone on this character in a future stream, so we can kind of enjoy that a little bit. But since we saw a little bit of the Dark Irons earlier, I kind of just wanted to go check out a little bit of the Wildhammer, where this is definitely a very dangerous area here with the Twilight Citadel, and we have that massive spire, and there are a bunch of Twilight Drakes around here, which I think will be fine. This zone is like 2 to 3 levels higher than I currently am, so we see this level 85 elite right here, around a level 82 non-elite, just a player character running around here, so let's just be careful. But we can see as we get over this Twilight Ridge right here, we have basically what most of this map looks like of the Twilight Highlands, and it's just a really beautiful area where we can see some of the Wildhammer villages around here, where we have Dunwad, and this is the Dunwad Market Row, and we can see, kind of similar to Thelsomar, we have these different like houses that are built into the like hills, and they have like grassy roofs and whatnot, and it's just really cool looking. But I'll go ahead and just do a little bit of a quicker look at this village, because this is the peaceful village of Thundermoor. And as we come into here, we can see some of these Wildhammer dwarves walking around, and they look very similar to the normal dwarves that we've been interacting with, but of course they got like the Wildhammer tattoos all over them. And I just really love like this area of the world and the Wildhammer dwarves in general, and like all this architecture, and it's kind of fun to see like the dwarves expanded upon with like the Cataclysm expansion expansion, and then we see them expanded upon with the various other expansions. We got a Wildhammer Griffin hatchling right here, which is adorable, and I love this model so much. It's so cute. But that is pretty much all that I wanted to explore on my druid character, and this was kind of random, but I hope you enjoyed seeing a few different highlights of the world of Azeroth. And that brings us to the final part of this video, where over the last few episodes I have done a lot of things where I've explored pretty much the entirety of Dune Moral and most of Khaz Modan, and a tiny bit of wetlands, as well as the 4 different starting zones in the Kingdom of Stormwind, where I haven't explored them all in depth, but I was running through them and doing different quests. And as I've done that, I have read through every single lore book in World of Warcraft. And with those 2 things finished, I have basically done all that I have wanted to do in this Let's Play series, where we are at a very similar point to my Undead Priest Let's Play series, where I've kind of done everything that I wanted to do and I successfully did it. Where that brings us to 2 different options, and I was kind of thinking about which of these 2 options that I want to take, where the first one that I'm not taking is just continuing on and basically just trying to get to level 60, and maybe I would highlight a few different things in like a super time lapse from like level 20 to like level 60 or whatever. And that is something that kind of interests me, but I'm not like super interested in doing it, and it's also like spending like over 200 hours to make like one YouTube video that will probably not even get like 100 views or whatever. So it just doesn't seem super worth it, combined with it not being something that really interests me a lot. I just don't think I'm going to do that, and I'm going to go with option 2. There's a Dead Night Elf right there, which is soon going to be our fate, where I want to go ahead and do something similar to my Undead Priest Let's Play series, where basically, for anyone who didn't watch that, I went to the Kingdom of Stormwind as an Undead Priest at like level 18 or whatever, and I did a few different things around there, and I tried to make it into the city of Stormwind, and I wasn't very successful, but I still had a ton of fun doing that, where I want to go ahead and do something kind of similar, where some people are probably thinking that I'm going to try to get to the Undercity. I am not. I want to go ahead and make a long run, and I have 0 faith in my ability to successfully complete this run, and I'm probably not going to get to my destination, but it will be fun to go ahead and journey along the road to get there, and we'll see how far we can make it, where I've kind of thought a little bit of a strategy on how I want to do this, and I'll go ahead and approach that each step we take, where basically the run that I want to make is from here in the wetlands, and I want to go ahead and go north over the Thandle Span, through the Rathi Highlands, into the Hillsborough Foothills, potentially into like the Otrak Mountains, into the Western Plaguelands, through the Eastern Plaguelands, and to Light's Hope Chapel, which is an incredibly important and holy area for paladins, which we are a paladin, so I thought that would be kind of cool. And then it's also kind of like pointing out the future of my World of Warcraft Let's Play series, where I've talked about this a little bit, but I'm planning on doing a Draenei Let's Play series, a Blood Elf Let's Play series, and a Death Knight Let's Play series. So kind of approaching Light's Hope Chapel is important for that Death Knight Let's Play series, and potentially we'll get a little bit of a sneak peek of that area, which I've explored on my Human Mage character and will soon be exploring on my Orc Shaman character. And then also it's kind of getting close to Quel'The Lost for our Blood Elf character, so it kind of just seems fitting, even though we probably aren't even going to make it into the Eastern Plaguelands at all. But we'll go ahead and try nevertheless. Where I am very thankful for everyone who has tuned into this Let's Play series, and I have had a ton of fun with it up to this point, and I hope people enjoyed watching it up to this point, and I hope this is kind of like a good ending to this, since I don't want to go all the way to level 60 and I've basically done everything that I wanted to do. Let's go ahead, talk to Kixo one last time, see if there's any potions we can buy where there is not, where maybe if you see somebody along the way, we could go ahead. Oh wait, no, I can't do that because I'm self out. I was gonna say we could give them my 1 gold, but I cannot do that. So our first threat is this young wetlands crocodilisk, which evaded my hammer of justice. We should be fine though. We should most likely not get dazed. Where there is a level 25 dwarf rogue and some gnolls right there. And it looks like we have successfully completed the first challenge, and we are still alive. Where dying to that crocodilisk would have been incredibly embarrassing, because I have good faith we could make it into maybe the Western Plaguelands. I think we could get through Arathi alive. I'm just gonna knock on wood there. and hopefully we will successfully do that. Where up here we do have done Motor right before the Thandol span, and I have this quest, A Dark Threat Looms. So far for kind of like that player running past me right there, we are kind of doing something relatively normal for what we should be doing right now, because we can come up here to done Motor and we can go ahead and speak to Ashlyn Stone Smirk, and we can go ahead and turn in this quest, and then we will pick up a quest that I believe will take us to Khaz Modan, which is kind of cool. So let's go ahead, chat with him and continue, complete that, and we can go ahead and go back to the dam. But I'm going to leave the dam, and I'm going to leave Khaz Modan and the Kingdom of Stormwind behind us as we go across the Thandol span and into the continent of Lordaeron, which I've spent a ton of time talking about in this Let's Play series, because there are a lot of lore books in World of Warcraft, and I don't think I've ever read all of them fully in depth up to this Let's Play episode. So it was actually like a really fun experience for me, because like I know all the lore and I've like seen like different videos and I've kind of like learned the lore through other methods, but it was fun to like sit down and read through every single one of the books found throughout the game. And it's kind of fun to see like different aspects of like some of the books change over the course of World of Warcraft, or some things get like retconned or whatever. Some things egregiously retconned, like with the Dreadlords, and then some things that aren't retconned too badly. But we are now in the Arathi Highlands, where the Arathi Highlands is a level 30 to level 40 zone, and I don't think it's going to be too challenging getting through this zone. We just have to be very, very careful about any enemies that are near the side of the road, where there are going to be some raptors and some spiders near the side of the road that we need to be super, super careful of. But there's also going to be an undead patrol that is going to be walking on the road through this area of the road, and we need to be extra careful of them. And we need to make sure we do not run into them, because if we do, it is like 5 level 35 or something undead, like Forsaken undead, and they are just going to like storm me and absolutely demolish me, and I do not want that. Where we have a plains creeper up here on our right that is kind of close to the road, and something that we need to take into consideration as we do this are the abilities and the supplies we have on hand. Where when it comes to the supplies, we don't really have too much. We got these 2 lesser healing potions, these 2 healing potions, and these 4 minor mana potions, which maybe the healing potion could give us like 1 more hit potentially from an enemy. That spider's very close, but we also have these abilities here. I'm so stressed. We're fine. Where we have this Blessing of Protection right here, which is basically going to make us invulnerable for 6 seconds, and that might be super important for us, where that's probably going to be the ability that I use like immediately if we ever get into a sticky situation. But then we also have this Lay on Hands, which will fully heal us, and then we have a Blessing of Freedom, probably not super useful, and we also have this Divine Protection, where we are protected from all physical attacks and spells for 8 seconds. Which one is more valuable? Maybe the Divine Protection is more valuable. Where we do have Nigel's Refuge over there, or Refuge Point, whatever it's called, which I don't think I'm going to go down there, because 1, there's no point for us to, and 2, it's probably a little bit more dangerous to go on a little bit of a detour there, where there's some plains creepers there. So we are actually making good progress through the zone. We're like halfway through, and we can see the Thoradin wall off in the distance now, with the ruins of Stromgarde, or not really ruins, they're kind of still standing, but Stromgarde over there. I think Divine Protection is going to be better for us. I'm Blessing of Protection. I could be wrong though. I feel like Blessing of Protection, like I feel like something will hit us through Divine Protection, but I'm not sure what it is. So I'll go ahead and just use that if we start getting into a sticky situation. But we have this road sign here where we can go off into Stromgarde, and so far we're doing good with all the different enemies that are around here, and I have not run into the undead patrol just yet, where they could be anywhere from like this farm right here going up along this road and into Terran Mill. Where, speaking of Terran Mill, it is actually a pretty dangerous area for Alliance players because there are like level 45 guards that patrol past Terran Mill, and a lot of people like aren't paying attention because they're just running along the road, and the guards that go onto the like main road that you use to run past Terran Mill, and then they die to the guards, which is really sad and kind of embarrassing if it ever happens to you, but it's just something that happens. We have a Highland Strider and this Plains Creeper that's kind of close to the left side of the road, and it looks like we're kind of safe on the right side, so I'm going to go ahead and stick closer to this area. And once we get to Thoradin's Wall, we will be out of the Arathi Highlands and we will be entering the Hillsbrad Foothills, which is kind of similar to the Wetlands, where it is a level 20 to 35 zone, where for the most part it's like level 20 to 30 like immediately off this road here. So it's probably going to be a relatively safe area for us, but of course as an Alliance player it's more of a level 30 to 35 questing area because you come here to do quests at that level, where it's a level 20 to 30 questing area for Horde players. But we see a level 24 Moss Creeper right there, which we might be able to defeat in one-on-one combat, but I'll just try to run past everything. I appreciate that it is raining in World of Warcraft right now, because the day that I am recording this, it has been raining, and it's been so nice to see some rain for the first time in a while, where there are two bears right here. I'm going to come into the middle of them, where we have Durnhold Keep with the Syndicate Watchman there, and it looks like we got past the bears, but we can see in front of us is that Forsaken Patrol, where we have 4 Forsaken bodyguards and a Forsaken courier. So I think how I want to approach this is I'm just going to trail behind them for now, and I'm going to stick over here. Maybe we do something a little dumb, and let's go ahead and come through this wilderness, because I think these are mostly like level 22 enemies right here. So let's just completely run around them. And I was trying to figure out how I want to get to the next map from Hillsbrad Foothills. There we go, our Hammer of Justice hit him. That's a good stun right there. Let's go ahead, buff ourselves up, where we could go along the road, but I think it is significantly safer if we run along the river, where we do need to be a little bit careful of a few enemies right here along the river. And then on the left side we have to be kind of careful of Terran Mill, because there are some guards that are getting a little close to the river. So I think if we run on the right side, and then we can maybe like swim into the center of the river and avoid any enemies over here, which so far so good. Okay, we got a level 25 Elder Grey Bear. Let's go ahead and come to the other side of the river, where there's a level 21 Grey Bear right there. So I feel like that's potentially a little safer. And let's just kind of run in the river here, where we're barely in the river, but because we're so short as a dwarf, we just got a tiny bit and then we start swimming, where if we were a night elf we'd probably still be running right there, which is kind of like a fun contrast between the different Alliance races. And I see the Terran Mill Death Guards right there. Let's go ahead, just keep going this way. I think we're clear of them now, where there is like another Horde camp right here in the Otchak Mountains, but I don't think any of the Horde forces get anywhere close to this river. I think they all stick like right inside the camp. Where that bear is walking this way, but of course a level 21 enemy, an easy enemy for us to defeat. And let's go ahead and continue running down this river, where we have a really fun area over here on the right that is important for warrior characters to come to, because that is where you can get your whirlwind axe. And we are now in the Otchak Mountains, and I think we're making good progress, where there are a bunch of red slots right there at Chillwind Point. Or if I come into here, and it would be right here, I think... Oh, there's a red dragon. Okay, I remember this red dragon. There is a very high level elite red dragon boss that wanders around this area and will absolutely obliterate even high level characters. and will probably one-shot us. And there are some hulking mountain lions. So we are now getting to the point in our adventure where I do not think we are going to live much longer. So let's go ahead, be careful of any red dragon threats or red dragon threat. Can we get to the other side here? Get to the other side, and he's all the way over there. So if we can just run along the shore here, and I think he's going to patrol south at some point. I can hear his wings flapping, which means he's so close. Okay, I think we got past him. Okay, we got past him. I was scared there was going to be a hulking mountain lion there. But yeah, if we were like 10 seconds slower, that would have been devastating for us. So that was really good for us. But there are some snapjaws, which are, fortunately for us, neutral enemies. And so far, I don't see any other enemies around here. And we are getting close to the Western Plaguelands, where we are now in the Western Plaguelands. So I think if we could get into the Eastern Plaguelands, I will call it a relatively successful mission. Or I'll call this, honestly, a relatively successful mission, even though it hasn't been too hard just yet. I'm kind of just like a coward about things like this. Where I think this is a relatively safe area. And we do have Daryl coming up here, but I don't think there's any enemies on the island. It's just inside of Scholomance where there's enemies, right? But we could also run along the right side of Daryl. I'm not sure if there's enemies in the waters around it. It'll be interesting to see. But we have this area here, which I kind of messed up on in my World of Warcraft Classic GeoGuessr game, but that's okay, that's okay. So I know there's like some undead over that ridge right there, but I don't think there's anything close to us. Let's just keep our eyes out. Go ahead, rebuff ourselves. I can use my seal, even though our judgment is not going to do anything to any enemies around here, because we are now in the Western Plaguelands, which is a level 50 to like level 55 zone. So us as a level 20 are definitely going to have a very bad time in this area of the world. So I don't see any enemies in the water, and I don't see any enemies on the shoreline, and I don't remember there being any enemies around here or in the water or on Daryl. So I think we're going to be okay to get over here and then into the Eastern Plaguelands. But it's just, I don't think there's any chance you can actually get to Lightsoap Chapel unless I do like something really weird where I could like try to like break into the wall or something and like fly over the mountains or something. But I don't want to do that. So let's go ahead, get to the other side of this lake and see what lies in front of us. Where I think we're getting pretty close to the Eastern Plaguelands here. I'm not sure if the map border is like right here, but we can see that the map has now really changed from kind of like the atmospheres of the Western Plaguelands, and we are now kind of like in the colors of the Eastern Plaguelands, where if we ran up this river here, we could meet Tyrion Fordring, who is a fun character. But so far, there are no enemies over here, and we do need to get from here into the Eastern Plaguelands, which is going to be potentially dangerous, because I know there's going to be a ton of enemies as soon as you get like up here. So I'm not sure what the best avenue is, and I have no idea if I can get into the Eastern Plaguelands, and if I can follow along the road here. I have no idea how I'm going to get past Corn's Crossing, and then from the stretch of Corn's Crossing into Lightsoap Chapel. It's going to require a miracle. But we are now back to the point of having to be stressed out and keeping our eyes open, because this is where enemies are going to start spawning. So let's go ahead. I think our best bet has to be to stay close to the lake here and then try to get to the bridge of the Western and Eastern Plaguelands, and then just go ahead, follow the road as best as we can, keeping our eyes peeled for the enemies near the road and kind of just going off to the left or right depending on where enemies are. And then if we get attacked, using my divine protection and just hoping for the best. I appreciate that I gained a little bit of experience. I could have maybe gotten like close to like level 21 and like planned out like potentially a level up at Corn's Crossing, but I feel like that wouldn't do too much to us. Since we're probably not even going to get low on health, we're probably just going to get immediately killed in like one shot by any enemy around here. Because we are almost in the Eastern Plague Lands, and I really want to hit that threshold so I can say that I made it to the Eastern Plague Lands, where the Eastern Plague Lands is a level 55 to level 60 zone. So definitely very, very dangerous. Very dangerous. Where... I made it to the Eastern Plague Lands. Okay, I'm not sure... There's that grub there. I feel like... I guess you could swim up right there. I'm not sure if there's any enemies close to that, though. Let's go ahead. Jump here. I don't know why I'm whispering. Don't let the enemy see us. Okay. Continue here. Let's get onto the road. I think we made it. We made it to the road in the Eastern Plague Lands, and we're going to die in 27 seconds. Check the timestamp. Let's go ahead. Try to keep running through the Eastern Plague Lands. And I don't see any enemies close to us so far. And one of the towers is under control of the Alliance, and the other three are neutral, which I don't think any of those really matter. I know there's like a flight path from the Plaguewood Tower to the Crown Guard Tower, but I don't think there's any other flight paths from any other tower to any other place. Okay. There's a bat to our right, there's a runt to our left. Let's try to stick to the middle, and... Oh, no. Okay. We're so dead. Okay, this Plague Bat and the runt are attacking us. Okay, I somehow... Potion. I stunned. There's another Plague Bat. We're dead. This is it. This is the end. We made it this far. That was pretty good. There goes our soul fragment. But we made it into the Eastern Plague Lands, and we actually made it a decent ways into the Eastern Plague Lands. I mean, not really. But I think that was a really fun adventure. So let's go ahead, release our spirit, and we can see we're here at Darrowshire. And I can't really run back to my body and return to it. But we made it pretty close to Light's Hope Chapel, which maybe I'll go ahead and just run the rest of the way as a ghost, and we could go ahead and log out there. Which this of course brings us to the end of this Let's Play series, which is the end of all my various different hardcore mini-series, where I started off as a Night Elf Druid, and then I progressed to a Tauren Hunter, and then an Undead Priest, and now finally a Dwarf Paladin. And I had a ton of fun in each of those different Let's Play series, exploring some of the different parts of World of Warcraft that I wanted to explore, and just having a lot of fun playing through the hardcore version of the game, where I think hardcore is a pretty fun game mode, and I enjoy it a little bit, but it is definitely not my favorite way to play World of Warcraft, where I kind of just prefer like the plain old classic vanilla progressing through the world and questing and exploring and all those different things, where I really enjoyed my experience playing hardcore WoW on all the different characters that I played on my different Let's Play series, on my streams, and then also kind of just like by myself. And I think I had a really good time, and it was definitely worth my experience, but I'm probably not going to play anymore in the future because I think I've had enough fun with it and I don't really enjoy it too much anymore. But to look at this hardcore series specifically, I can go ahead and type /played, and it is going to be a little bit more time played before I log off, but we can see that I have gone 13 hours, 8 minutes, and 33 seconds on this character, with 1 hour, 38 minutes, and 2 seconds since I reached level 20. So I definitely played a decent amount on this character across this episode and the 4 episodes before this one. And I do genuinely hope you enjoyed watching all these different episodes, and I had a ton of fun playing through this, where I still have some Orc Shaman Let's Play episodes that I will be releasing in the future, and I'm also going to be releasing some Guild Wars 2 Let's Play episodes in the future as well. And then after I complete my Orc Shaman Let's Play series, we can go ahead and look forward to the future of that Draenei, that Blood Elf, and that Death Knight. Kind of mini, but a little bit longer than like this series, Let's Play series that I'm wanting to do on 3 different characters in the future. But as we run right over here, we can see coming into view now is Light's Hope Chapel, which was my destination for this episode, and I guess we have kind of made it. But this is where this Let's Play series ends here. Where if you enjoyed this, go ahead and consider watching my Orc Shaman Let's Play series, and you can come back for my future Let's Play series as well. But I hope you all enjoyed the series and this episode, and I hope you all are taking good care of yourselves. Remember, as always, to drink some water, check your posture, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time in the world of Azeroth. Goodbye.